Well, hello and welcome to Fun Fantasy FPL. My name is Harry.
And I'm Stephen Berry.
This week I have a different background, which includes a ship, as we've gone home for Christmas breaks, but we are still not taking our minds off FPL as it dominates our lives ever more. It's been an interesting week, I think. Spurs bias definitely undermined me. But before we go into my team, Stephen, why don't you tell us how your team performed, your successes, and potentially what you think about next week?
Well, overall, it was pretty good. I mean, I didn't captain Salah, which, you know, just always captain him, basically. I think that's I mean, if you didn't know that already, you're an idiot. But I still did pretty well. If I had captained him, I would have got 90 something points. Because I didn't, it was 73, which is still pretty strong. I had Cliver, I had Kuna, Sanchez, Gusto. The person I did captain, and this does infuriate me, was Gordon. I don't mind Gordon just getting an assist against Ipswich, but I do, and I don't mind Isaac getting a hat trick again. He was an obvious shout, which me being me, I couldn't go for. What I am annoyed about is Jacob Murphy morphing into Lionel Messi during those two games. Why? Why has Murphy hauled and Gordon got only a crummy assist in both those games? That is genuinely infuriating. If Jacob Murphy had done nothing, I wouldn't have cared. But the fact Jacob Murphy's got, I don't know, 10 or plus or whatever he got in both those games is quite annoying. Why Eddie Howe goes, I've got this really good player, but I'm going to focus all my efforts down this garbage player and get the best out of him. It's infuriating. Nevertheless, a good game week overall.
Yeah, no, I did not captain Salah. I had Salah and Palmer as my options. I went with Palmer. I kind of went with Data FC here, but and
Oh,
also
wow.
the Spurs bias inside of me. I mean, I realise, Tottenham give up chances like it's candy. But I thought maybe, just maybe, under the lights on a Sunday evening, we might be able to put together something a bit more resolute. What I had probably not accounted for the most is the fact that Man United, who we have talked a lot on this podcast, have been not very good. They managed to score 3 goals against us, admittedly to goalkeeper errors. And Salah being one of the most prolific players to ever play in the Premier League, maybe, just maybe, he might get a bit on the back of it. I mean, his first goal was just comical. Archie Gray passed it into
Mm,
his legs. First few minutes, Fraser Forster nearly gave them a goal. So not captaining Salah was painful. I had Isaac. I brought him in for Jackson. 17 points, definitely a swing there. But more painfully, Rodgers, first on my bench, 14 points. Last week it was Ahmad with 13 points left on my bench. This week it's Rodgers. Joining him on the bench is Kirkes of 6 and Harwood Bellis with 8. So my
yeah.
bench scored a grand total of 28 points, plus the 3 points from Brogan. But Sanchez as well, coming through with 9 points, really helped. So I finished on 78. But because of where I am in the world, it's actually a rank decrease again. So
Mm,
I'm now down to 480, just purely because everyone else kept Salah. And I kept Cunha. People selling Cunha. What are you doing? So he won't get the ban for ages. We talked about this. He's not going to get the ban this side of Christmas. Well, he obviously won't now, but I think he'll play next game. Why would
okay.
you sell him?
Yeah, I'm personally going to keep Kuna. Obviously, he scored. Um, Question though, why did the stats say that Palmer was the option? I mean, I'm very confused about that because Spurs, as we know, cannot keep clean sheets. Everton got a 0-0 against Arsenal. Dyche, but among other
Mm.
things, one thing he's very good at is getting 0-0s, especially against the big teams. So why did the stats, the data, or the form, or whatever it is, say otherwise?
Well, obviously, I'm not a details man, so I didn't look into any stats per se. But I think what I did consider is that look, Palmer's prolific and he has a high ceiling. And I thought that a lot of people would go with Salah because of the argument that Tottenham can't defend, which we can't, by the way. Um, and so I thought Palmer actually, like, let's say he scored and got an assist, and Salah only got an assist, which was looking okay in the first couple of minutes, to be honest. But I would be up. So it was on the basis I didn't think Salah was going to get anything. It was on the basis I thought Palmer might get more, just because
Mm,
Everton's defense, when it crumbles, it absolutely shatters into a million pieces. It's
yeah.
not a defense that. I mean, the last 2 games, obviously Chelsea, Arsenal, those are Dyche's fortes. In terms of getting the nil-nils. But I just felt like Palmer potentially could outscore Salah. And I wasn't confident on Saka. I was really glad I didn't go for him, which we'll come on to. But do you know who has entered my thoughts? If Cunha gets this ban, who has entered my thoughts, and because I might not have Arsenal coverage very soon, and that is Gabriel Jesus. He
Yes.
is 6.7 or 6.8 million, which is the same price as Cunha.
Interesting. Well,
Ipswich
I
next as
guess
well.
yeah, I guess we should talk about. I'll talk about Arsenal quickly.
Yeah,
So
crack
yeah,
on.
yeah, played well. Palace did give us a few things, but you can't win a 5-1 battle. Let's put it that way. I think we did play pretty well, and then yes, Ipswich at home next to a pretty trash. Did lose Starboy, but we lost him either at 1-1 or 2-1. And the fact that we
Yeah.
still went on. Um, yeah, we just looked a bit more at the races that game and played very well. Jesus is a obvious choice. My only concern about him is he's a confidence player, and then he scored 5 goals, and then he missed a 1-on-1. He's so confidency that I could see him losing his confidence just because of that one miss and then never score ever again. He's an obvious choice though. He's definitely going to start. Havertz is going to be the midfielder. It looks like.
Would you bring him in?
Yeah. Well, I've got Timber and I've got Odegaard. So he would make sense as the third Arsenal option.
So he's 6.8
Um,
million, 3.2% owned. Obviously, he's done nothing all season, but he
yeah.
did just get a 16-point haul. Is it too knee-jerky?
No, I think the fact that we have Ipswich next, and I think after that, well, we've got Brentford away, Brighton away actually, and then the North London derby. Also in a season of rotation. Maybe it is a little bit too knee jerky actually, because I mean, he surely has to start. The only other risk though with Saka going out is that he might get moved to the wing and they play Havertz number 9. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think if you were going to go for a 1 week punt for Arsenal, because that's sort of what it would be given the fixtures coming up: Brentford away, Brighton away, North London derby, and the fact that we've lost Saka, who is sort of one of our keys in attack. Yeah, actually, do you know what? I've talked myself out of it. I think it is a bit too knee jerky. I think if you were to go with anyone I think if you've got an Arsenal asset, obviously don't sell this week. But are Havertz and Jesus must right now? I'm actually going to say no. I don't think you should be buying. Hold, but I wouldn't say buy would be my opinion, because Jesus might get moved out to the wing. Saka, it limits our creativity, and after Ipswich we have 4 difficult fixtures: Brentford,
Yeah.
Brighton, Tottenham, Aston Villa in a rotation period as well.
So what does Arsenal look like without Saka? I mean, do we own any attacking asset? I mean, you own Odegaard. You're obviously not moving him on, but
Yeah.
do we actually
That's it.
own any Arsenal assets going forward? The attackers
I,
anyway.
I would say if you have them, hold them. That's what I would say. I mean, unless you, I mean, yeah, hold. I would say basically. I don't think they're worth transferring out, but I think they're worth transferring in either. I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but I think I would just hold them for now.
Sure. Okay, cool. And so what do Arsenal do? So you said that Jesus might get pushed out to the wing, Havertz through the middle. Or is it not more likely that maybe Sterling or Trossard can go and fit in that
Uh,
position?
Trossard might come in. Sterling's injured, I think, again. If Sterling wasn't injured, he'd be one I'd be quite interested in, because I imagine he's quite cheap on the game and he can be quite explosive. Um, but
6.8, I
yeah, I
think
think
is.
yeah, but again, he's injured. As I said, I think. I mean, if there's other if there's other teams, I would say there's other teams to target. Liverpool have now got another easy run as well. They just scored 6 goals. So if you look at Arsenal, players are expensive. Um, even Man City, maybe Everton, Leicester, West Ham. I think if you're looking at expensive attackers, uh, Liverpool are a much easier option to go for,
Yeah.
basically. Either Diaz, Gap or Gapco, basically.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, as soon as you mentioned it, we might as well talk about Spurs Liverpool.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Dear listeners and viewers, this is the blight of being a Spurs fan. So much hope, so much promise, and in the end, just chaos. Yeah, so I've got a couple of things to say about this. Firstly, I'm definitely still supporting the manager. I'm Anjin. I think it'd be too knee jerky to get rid of him. Secondly, uh, I think the way we set up was okay. I think people have talked a lot about the setup. I don't think that was the problem. I think the fact is that we've got too many people out. We're playing Archie Gray and Dragislan. Dragislan cannot defend for shit. Honestly, his agent coming out and being like, "Oh, he's not getting enough game time." Yeah, there's a reason why that's happening. He's not great. He is so immobile. He got done 3 or 4 times, 2 of them leading to goals. Pedro Porro is just being encouraged to bullet up the field, a couple of times leading to goals or chances. Look, defensively, we're nowhere near. I said last week, don't buy any Spurs players, and then we got a couple of returns, but they're all single-digit returns. It's like Kulusevski, he's averaged about, I think he's averaged 8 points, 7 points the last couple of game weeks, which is great. But for 6.7, I think I'd probably want a bit more, right?
He's 6.3. He's 6.3 Kulusevski. He seems to be starting every week. Actually,
he's been the best player we've had. He's been the best player we've had.
Barry, one of the transfers I was going to do live was actually him. I've lost patience with Matoma now, and I'm bringing in Kulusevski. Like, why did I listen to you? Like, he's starting. Spurs always score. Like, he's also just a very good player. That's my first. I've got Matoma. He's looked okay at Brighton. Look at a bit of a bad run for some reason. And I've lost patience with him. So Kulusevski, welcome to the team.
Okay, interesting. I mean, look, you will get points off him. You will. I mean, I don't know. The Spurs bias is claiming me a bit too much, and that's the reason why I didn't captain Salah in the main. It was I can't captain Salah against my own team. Sadly, this is where FPL mattered a little less than my own allegiances. But I went and watched the game, and from minute one, we looked chaotic. And I just think that I don't think Ange needs to change his system or his strategy, but I don't like this aggressive nature he has with the media, with everyone else getting like pissed off and like he's like, everywhere I go, I play this way and I've been successful. I'm like, you haven't played in the Premier League. The Premier League is the hardest and the best league in the world. Fuck off, Fernando. Right? It is the best league in the world. Right? Simple. You got Bournemouth who currently sit 5th. Right? Man City could have fallen to 7th if Fulham had beaten Southampton by 2 goals or more. It is the hardest league in the world. You're coming here, you are trying to play an aggressive and expansive style of football with a squad that hasn't played that for 3 years. Pride, you need to give it time. You need to give it investment. And you also need to just be just be a bit humble about it and say, you're trying to rebuild yourself, rebuild the team, get the fans on side. It's just too standoffy, and what's going to happen is the fans will turn on that quite quickly because it doesn't look like he's being a fortress mentality with the fans inside it. It looks like a fortress mentality with the fans outside of it. And then if they turn on, the club will turn on and he'll go, and it won't work. He needs to bring the team and the fans with us with him, and if he doesn't do that, it's going one way.
Yeah. But first of all, let me just agree with you. Yes, it is the best league in the world. Anyone who thinks a league where Scott McTominay has become the best player in that league overnight is better than the Premier League, I mean, they really need their head checking in for a number of reasons and clearly know nothing. A league where Chris Smalling, Ruben Loftus-Cheek are tearing it up. Tomori. That's not a good league, really, is it? And to say that that's better than the Premier League, you're an idiot. I'll agree with that one. The thing with Ange, though, which a bit of a playground question: who started this? He seems to be a lot more annoyed because of Carragher, and Neville's even got on it now about he's got these principles and it just seems to be that he's rising to that too easily. Basically,
I agree. He's nibbling. You know, my friends used to call me Barry Bite. He is honestly doing the same thing. You know, Barry Bite. He comes out to play every now and again, and is biting on these clickbait, commentators who are only there to create content to make it sound interesting, to be on Sky's Instagram. Just ignore it and talk to the fans. Explain what you're trying to do. Say, look, it's going to be painful. We're going to have results like this, but then we're also going to beat Southampton 5-0, right? Now, that may get us in and around top 6 eventually if we get some better players in there and we have a fully fit squad. But if he doesn't make that argument to the fans, they just will turn on him. I mean, it happened at Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth are no slouch from team this year. We can see that. And, Raiola's done an unbelievable job in getting that squad to a decent level. But, we just need to be Ange just needs to be a bit more respectful of the fact that fans will look on the pitch and be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So you've now taught me about Kulusevski again. Also, I've taught myself out of it, looking at their fixtures. Nottingham Forest away, then Wolves at home, maybe, and then Newcastle. Basically, not for now. I think
Do you know what I found interesting? Just quickly, do you know what I found interesting? No team outside of Man City has a nice run. None of them. You go through them all. You look at the fixture difficulties. All of them.
Liverpool do. Liverpool have a
Liverpool,
nice
what? Leicester, West Ham, and then they've got Man United at home, which, say what you like, jokes aside, will be a difficult game. They've got Forest away. Forest look great. Brentford away. Brentford, first loss of the season, or how many at home, in ages, right? Unless you have Liverpool assets or Man City assets, who has those anymore, right? I honestly, go through all the teams.
Bournemouth have a. You're right. No one has 6 in a row.
That's what I'm saying. Do you remember how
Bournemouth, Chelsea, and Liverpool and Man City, their next 3 are all strong.
Bournemouth have Palace at home, Fulham away, Everton at home. They could all be 3 draws, 0-0s. You don't know. I just think that. Do you know couple of was it last season or the season before? Man City had a run of 12 games where it was just captain's Haaland the entire time because it was just green. Because of how competitive the league is this year, and because of how the dynamic, the fixture difficulties change based on performances, you look at it and it's a sea of grey, green, and red. It's not. There's no consistency of difficulties or in that position. So I actually think there isn't really an obvious choice from a fixture perspective, which as a fixture over form FPL manager makes it very difficult for me to navigate.
I disagree with you. I would say Bournemouth and Liverpool have 2 very nice runs, and as a result, I'm gonna do some rogue transfers. So I'm getting rid of Archer. It was nice having him in the team for a little bit. Watkins seems to have lost his place permanently to Duran, so he's got to go.
Yeah.
And I'm backing Liverpool and I'm backing Bournemouth. So Evan Nielsen, an obvious choice there. And then I'm also going to predict that there's going to be some rotation and that someone is going to start against Leicester. And that man is, of course, Darwin Nunez. So
I was expecting it. He's back. He's back.
He's back into the team. Even though I really need to sort my defence. Actually, Timber at home to Ipswich, Gusto at home to Fulham, Digny away to Newcastle could be worse. Is Nori back? Nori's not red flagged on my thing anymore. He must be banned for it. Well, no, because he got 2 yellow cards, didn't he? So he is back. 2 yellow cards is just 1 game back.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So I'll probably start Nori.
So out of all of that, I thought you were going to put in Kulusevski. So can you just reiterate for the fans, what transfers have you actually made?
I've taken out Archer and Watkins, and I brought in Evan Nielsen at Bournemouth and Darwin Nunez at Leicester in the hope that there is some rotation and he starts. Basically, yes. This is the season for rotation. La 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 la. So I think there's a decent chance that he starts that game.
Excellent.
And of course it's a gamble. And what was it was Fulham actually. It was Fulham Southampton made me realise this. I think a lot of teams are looking at certain fixtures like a cup game now. Fulham didn't play Smith Rowe. They didn't play Piera. They played Tom Kearney, who hasn't played in 28 years, despite being the club captain. They basically put out an FA Cup side, and I think a lot of clubs now are looking at the teams like Leicester and Southampton and Ipswich, maybe Ipswich as well, just going we don't need to play our full strength team. We can play an FA Cup squad, and it'd still be okay.
Yeah, and that puts me off investing in a Diaz or someone like that. Though you did see Jota come on against Spurs, which I thought was interesting. Cool. So yeah, covered Spurs, Liverpool. I think I think what we're saying is Spurs are unpredictable, but will score goals. The other game I wanted to talk about was the Aston Villa Man City game, the opening game of the weekend. I mean, 11 games without a win, or is it 11 games without a win? No, they beat Forest, didn't they?
12, I think. I think it's. I can't remember. Either way, it's bad.
One win in 12. One win in 12. That's the stat. Good. We're across the details, chaps. As you know. Yeah. I mean, I think it was Ali McCoy said after the game he has never seen a team drop off like this, and we covered it a bit last week. But honestly, there are no explanations I can think of outside of the team are just absolutely knackered. But I think the number one thing was the midfield looked all at sea. So Gundogan looks like he's running in treacle half the time. Yeah, and Kovacic as well. Just they get dragged. They get dragged. So there'll be two people on the ball, one pass in. I mean, Tillemans looked like bloody Lionel Messi in the middle. Like it was unreal.
Yeah.
Some of the passes he was making was just like, what is going on? Like, so I just
Didn't
think
they say he's always been a good player? I think they said on
Yeah.
BT that no one has more successful forward passes than him in the league this season. So
that's an excellent stat. I love that. I mean, yeah, he's always been a good player, but I think he really was able to exploit and move the Man City midfield to a level where they were constantly doglegging, constantly creating gaps and all the rest of it. And it just meant that all the Aston Villa players had to be is a little bit fitter and a little bit more creative and move a lot more and all the rest of it. And yeah, I just don't see how Man City come back. Really?
No.
I mean, do they make top four? Michael Owen, beginning of the season, said they weren't going to make top four.
And that is incredible. He, as somebody said on Twitter, rightfully, he's absolutely smashed the back of the bin with that apple core, that one. He's absolutely aced it. Of all the people, of all the pundits to come out with that absolute clairvoyancy, Michael Owen, wow. What a time to be alive.
Yeah. So yeah, look, I left Morgan Rogers on the bench. 14 points. This is the problem I have with having Morgan Rogers and Ahmad. I'm going to rotate them based on fixture difficulty, but turns out it doesn't matter because I've left 27 points on the bench between them by just rotating them round. So I mean,
well, at least you have the players, Barry. Look at it that way. At least you've got good players in your
So Rogers, I'm now this week playing both of them and put Cunha on the bench at home to Man United, but no doubt that means he's going to score a hat-trick. So everyone start Cunha. So yeah, those are the two games I wanted to talk about. There was one more you wanted to discuss, no?
Yeah, the other game I wanted to speak about was Nottingham Forest Brentford. Yeah, just briefly. I mean, because Brentford have been incredible at home. Only West Ham have gotten anything from there, and Forest again. And do you know what annoys me, Barry? We obviously have receipts. All those podcasts, all those weeks ago, I said Aina was the obvious choice, and therefore I'm not going to go for him. What happened since then? Yeah. He scores literally that week and then gets another haul and it goes on to be the top scoring defender. Why do I have to just be so lured in with rogue shouts? Why can I not just occasionally just play the odds? Because that is annoying. But
well, I mean, Stephen, it's part of the reason why we love you. That's the kind of love of this podcast that people have for you. Is the fact you will go for a Murillo instead. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no, I think that's just a quick one. Just Forest is good, and get their players. They're cheap. I like Gibbs White. Gibbs White, I think, is going to be one of those players. He's either going to get 2 points or 20. I think he's that sort of player. But he is going to get some big hauls for you. Elanga, if he can nail down a plays, I always thought he looked good.
Yeah, he's a very good option if he can get down the place. What is 5.2? Something like that.
So he'll be cheap. I always thought he looked good at Man U. I always thought, I mean, don't get me wrong, low bar, but I always thought he looked pretty decent. I don't know why he got so much stick. Every time I saw him play for Man United, I thought he looked pretty good. If he can nail down a place, he could be quite interesting. Gibbs White just because he starts and obviously plays the cam role, but Elanga looks. If he starts every week, he becomes very, very interesting. Very interesting.
5.1 million, in fact, 0.7% owned. I think he's definitely a good alternative to a Ahmad or a Rogers. But I probably would prefer those two over him. Hudson
You
Odoi as
say
well,
that,
5.3.
yeah,
They've got some interesting players. I mean, I think the thing is that Hudson Odoi and Alanga, they rarely start together, I think. So I wouldn't be confident, I don't think.
yeah. You say that in terms of because you're talking about just like you can't have too many cheap players. I think with the Saka injury and with Man City out of sorts, essentially you can sort of really do what you want now. You can have basically because you have Salah and you have Palmer,
Mhm.
and then are there any other expensive players that are must? Isak maybe, but then
Yeah.
I think their fixture run changes a little bit. But even then, he's not Haaland money. But yeah, just Salah Palmer. Are there any other expensive players where you're like, yeah, you have to have them in your team? I would argue there's actually a lot of cheap players who are at Bournemouth, Forest.
Yeah.
They're even Chelsea. Some Chelsea players are quite. The whole Chelsea defense is quite cheap, for
I
example.
definitely think the options have opened. But I mean, Saka's only yellow flagged at the moment. Do you have any news about how long he's going to be out for?
I don't. One thing I will say is that I think I've said this before. He could have one leg and Arteta will still play him. So um,
Yeah.
that's yeah. I mean, Ben White played most of last season with like knee ligament damage, but because
Mm.
Arteta sort of made him play through the whole season, now they're finally giving him rest. He's got a bit of cover with Timber.
Mm.
But yeah, Arteta, if Saka can play, will play him. But no, I haven't seen anything online. He went off with it seemed to be a hamstring injury, and that's usually rules you out for 2 weeks at least. So,
Yeah.
um,
I might keep him just on the basis that if he does surprise us and somehow play against Ipswich, I'm going to want him.
yeah.
And then he's got Brentford next afterwards. So yeah, and if Cunha comes off the bench with his hat trick at home to Man United, happy days. Don't mind that. I tell you a player I think about it. Just on my team quickly. João Pedro has been an absolute disappointment. I
Disaster.
mean,
Yeah.
like honestly, yeah. I mean, he's 5.7, so he's cheap. So I don't mind owning him and benching him, but it's really fucking annoying. The fact that he just seems to just not manage to do much. And whereas before this injury that he had, he was, absolutely going great guns. So not sure what to do about that, to be honest. In fact, I've just made the change now. I'm going to start Cunha over him. I think. I
Yeah,
think it's going
there
to
you
have to.
go. I was gonna say, well, you got Whistler, who's quite cheap. Your best friend, the Lap, is cheap.
He's injured though.
Duran is Duran's cheap. Now, if Duran has actually taken Ollie Watkins's place, 100% confirmed, he's very interesting all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there are some cheap forwards who are interesting. Um, Duran probably being the and Jamie Vardy, of course.
Of course,
Um,
Jamie Vardy. That
of
is the
course, Jamie
player,
Vardy.
an absolute must, a must have. But cool. No, I think that wraps up the games quite nicely. As I always say, don't make early transfers unless you're Stephen, and you're doing a podcast, of course. Do make sure you are glued to any injury news reports. There's a good Twitter account called Premier League Injuries. I have the alerts on there on my Twitter, and it's very good for sort of giving you the manager's comments as well. So you can go into the injury room and it will tell you what they've actually said rather than just relying on a flag. Um, you know, they obviously can be elusive. Like you said, Saka may play, and Arteta will say he's in Spain somewhere training,
Yeah.
and that'll be the general aloofness of it. But I would always say check that. But yeah, so Arsenal without Saka, what does it look like? Just briefly, I know you talked about a little bit about the structure, but do you think it affects the team at all? Because with Odegaard left, it seemed like the team took a real lull. Is this going to be the same thing for Saka?
I would say less so. Odegaard is much more the person who makes us tick. Um, well, actually, in terms of because this leads on nicely to our, I think must-haves, maybe haves, and rogue. I actually think Odegaard could be if you do really want to get an Arsenal player in, and it's sort of good to go now, and it's a 1 week punt. Odegaard would probably be up there. So
Yeah.
low ownership. Let me see how much ownership he is.
So just quickly, before I interrupt you, I've just seen the BBC report. Saka is out for many weeks.
There you go.
That's according to
So
Arteta, but you know.
yeah, so that means Trossard will probably start. Sterling, I don't think Sterling's up for that long. So nevertheless, Odegaard hasn't scored for a while. I think he's due, that older cliche. I think with Saka out, he's going to feel more of a goal scoring responsibility and take a few more shots, take a few more risks. So I think Odegaard could be quite an interesting one. He's 6% owned. He's expensive. He's 8.3 million. But as I was saying, other than Salah and Palmer, most of the players you want are cheap anyway. So I would guess most people have the funds to get them, unless you're still one of the few people holding on to Erling Haaland.
I don't think I don't know whether it's like a mentality thing. I feel like if I went from Saka to I don't know like a I don't know a 6 point something million pound midfielder, I would feel like I'm wasting money by not using it. I don't know whether that's like a I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely.
Saka to Odegaard would be a straight swap, because if you wanted to do it that way.
I'm thinking about getting Saka going out then for someone a bit more rogue. Then I guess just for a couple of weeks. Why not? Foden, could come back.
Who scored? Yeah. In terms of a medium shot, I think I went through the Malanga. I quite like. I mean, maybe Foden actually. He seems to have got his place back in the team. What would be a really rogue shout though?
Kevin De Bruyne, Son.
Son. No. I mean, I guess Darwin Nunez is probably my rogue shout but he has to start.
Yeah.
And he has to actually start. So Darwin Nunez is my rogue shout. Is there anyone else at Liverpool? Jota said just come back. No, I think Nunez is the rogue one basically.
Yeah,
Again, can you get in the slot set and predict the rotation? If you can call the Liverpool starting 11. Was it going to be Jota, Diaz, Nunez, maybe even Salah? Is a rotation risk? Those looking at captaincy, like as I said, Fulham rested their entire team. I know Liverpool are going for the league. I don't know. Slot has done some rotation already this season.
He won't rotate Salah. He won't rotate Salah.
I
think it's more like I think he's more likely to start Jota over Diaz than he is to rotate Salah.
Probably. All I'm saying is just be careful. Darwin is my rogue shout. Who's your top, middle, and bottom?
So I would say probably the roguish shout I can think of. Like the roguish shout I would think of is go on. Szoboszlai. Go on. Szoboszlai is 6.3 million. I talked about at the beginning of the season.
Barry, your rogue shout. Somebody who starts as number 10 for Liverpool every week. Come on, Barry.
He's not. He doesn't start. He doesn't start every week. He doesn't start every week. He didn't start against Newcastle. He got 78 minutes against Fulham. He got 90 against City. To be fair, but he every sort of third game he does start on the bench. This is the thing. He doesn't play every game. And also his returns this season. I mean, apart from against Spurs and Southampton, there's been no double-digit hauls, 0. So that's why he's rogue. I think he could quite easily get dropped against Leicester because Leicester are Leicester. Like they probably could beat him without him on the pitch, right? My middling shout probably. I'd be tempted to go back to Mbeumo, but I think I'm going to say Bowen. Bowen is starting to play a bit more centrally. He's got Southampton next, and then he's got Liverpool and Man City after that, which probably means is a very short-term pick, or you might be benching him for those games. But I think Southampton away, I mean, isn't it everyone pile in, right?
West Ham turned the corner as well, haven't they?
Yeah, just about.
And all the things are there's still pressure on Locatelli. Marco Silva could afford to play the kids, and it didn't really matter. Yeah. He has to go there and win that game. So Kudus will start. Who scored? Yeah. I think you're right. West Ham were a good 1 week fun.
And then I mean, maybe we've missed it, and maybe it's just on form, but maybe it's time to get in that man, Jacob Murphy. 2 back-to-back, 13 points.
No.
You got to say no.
Absolutely. Once again, Barry, you have to have principles. I like Jacob Murphy as a man. He seems to work hard with the team and really run through brick walls. But nope, No,
It's
I'm
4.9
not.
million, mate. 4.9 million.
So they have. Bear in mind, they have Aston Villa next at home. Tough. Man U away, Tottenham away. It's I don't think now's the time to bring any. Again, I was on Arsenal and Newcastle the same. If you have, hold, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't say buy. I'd put it that way. I always
Yeah.
say that people to buy are Bournemouth, Chelsea, and who was the other one? Liverpool. They're the. I mean, most
Okay.
people probably have still Liverpool
So,
already. I would.
question for you: if you wanted an Arsenal winger, um, and to replace Saka, which one would you go for, Trossard or Martinelli?
Martinelli.
Okay.
Yeah, he. So interestingly, he actually took Saka's place. He went onto the right wing, and he looked far more comfortable just running around the man than cutting inside. Actually, so being an old-fashioned winger, he looked a lot more comfortable with just going around and crossing the ball, going
Yeah.
around crossing the ball. His goal was awful. he. I mean, but it's a goal. It's a goal. As the strikers say, he's in the right positions. So if I had to pick one of the two, I mean, I've already put my money on Odegaard, but if I had to pick one of the two, I would say Martinelli personally.
Okay, cool. And so your players you're thinking about, your bankers and the rogue ones. Show me how it's done, Stephen.
Well, I told you, Odegaard's my banker, Elanga's sort of the middling one, and Darwin's my rogue one.
Okay.
But then you're probably right. Actually, West Ham do have some, yeah, maybe even West Ham are sort of middles, your Bowens or Kudus actually. Their players, I think,
Yeah.
could be interesting as well. And then I
Cool.
guess Evan Nielsen, who I brought in, he's a bit middling. Um, who was that 12-year-old who scored for Bournemouth as well? He's like quite.
Oh,
Is he coming?
he's a winger. He's sorry, a defender.
Yeah, and I'm guessing he's just quite cheap or something.
Yeah, I'll have a look. But yeah, he's 19 years old. Um, and yeah, and he's Spanish, I think.
4.3. Sensi's
Uh,
injured
oh
that
yeah,
point. All right. Okay.
I'm going to butcher the name, but this is often the case on this podcast. Hudson. Huijsen. But he's 4.3% owned. So 4.3 million, 1% owned. Um, but I mean, look, outside of being a walking meme, I wouldn't invest in him. I've already got Kirkes, so I'm happy to stay. But
Yeah.
good for the lad. He got a goal against Man United and he got a goal against Spurs.
Yeah. Um.
So yeah,
Cool. So
should we move on to the question?
yes, indeed. So question was last week, who has joined Alan Shearer in being the top Premier League goal scorer for two different clubs? Just to be clear, these are Premier League goals. This person, is not the top goal scorer of all time for either of these clubs. Definitely one of them. But in terms of Premier League, he is. Barry, I'll give you the clubs, see if you can get it. Nottingham Forest and Burnley.
Oh, Chris Wood.
It's my best friend, Chris Wood. Chris Wood.
Yeah, Tommy
Uh,
C texted me saying he had no idea. He was finding it really difficult. So there you go, Tommy C. I hope you got it in the end. But yeah, that
yeah,
was an excellent question, Stephen. And
yeah.
I had
No,
the
it must be. I can't remember what it is. I think he's got like 12 for Burnley. It's both are really really low,
yeah,
but nevertheless,
yeah,
Chris Wood is the top Premier League goal scorer for Burnley, and he's just become it for Nottingham Forest. So him and
yeah.
Shearer hold that illustrious award.
Fantastic stat there, Stephen. And yeah, the question this week is coming from me this time. I've actually done my homework, which is nice. And it definitely hasn't been nicked from another podcast. So obviously Boxing Day coming up, usually lots of goals. And yeah, so my question is, which player has scored the most amount of Premier League goals on Boxing Day? So I found a top 10 list, and it's quite interesting actually. There's quite a lot of goals scored on Boxing Day. I don't know why. Maybe everyone's slow after eating the Christmas turkeys and so forth. But yeah, so which player is top of that list? And bonus if you manage to get the number of goals. So
Cool.
yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Please wait for injury news. The Saka news has just come in today. If you've already made the transfers, you're kind of a bit stumped there. If you like what we're doing, please give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter, and YouTube, of course, as well. And of course, lastly, we want to talk about Rita as well, because Rita had an absolute storm. She got 94 points. Captain
Nice.
Salah, Yeah, 94 points. She's on 1,083. I imagine she is probably top 200k in the world. She had Rogers coming off the bench with Smith Rowe. Yeah, so I am quite upset. And again, feel like less on that.
Yeah.
So congratulations to
It's
her.
it's it's very tight at the top between her, Luke, and Jake. That is a very interesting three-horse race developing. You're their fourth, Barry. You could potentially get
I
back
am
in there.
going to take
Maybe a
it.
fifth. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but those
Arinta
three are looking very good.
Arinta is coming for me. But no, I will win this league. You heard it here first. But no, thanks Rita for organising this podcast and producing and directing and making sure we're all on time. And make sure we don't forget our mics, Stephen. See, I have mine. You
Good for
do
you.
not. Yes. Well, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have a good game week. And yeah, goodbye.
Good luck. Thank you.